Following a worldwide manhunt that lasted over 4 years, 2 men were captured in the winter of 2017 and brought to trial. They face charges including attempts to violate pop culture and sabotage the planet's entertainment industry. After being held for less than 48 hours, these 2 men escaped from a maximum security facility. The fugitives are now believed to be holding up in an unknown secret location where they continue to broadcast their messages to their ever-growing army of renegade followers. Known only by the code names of Theo Cane and Respek BA, these men are armed, these men are dangerous, and these men are criminals.
1, 2, testing. This is Theo Cane
and Respek BA,
and you are now locked into the sound of the Slimehouse Squadcast.
And this is the Lowdown Shelter.
And we're back again, and you are now locked into the sounds of the Slimehouse Squadcast with myself, Theo Cane, and my brother, Respek BA.
What is happening, citizens?
And I believe it's episode 7, is that right?
I've lost count, and you might remember this week. I'm not sure.
I think it's 7. Who fucking knows? Who the fuck cares? Our regular listeners will know what episode it is, and we've done a couple of specials in that time, and we've got more specials to come. But right now, I believe it's episode 7, and if it's not, then I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah. It's not important. What's important is it's a new fucking episode.
Exactly. We live in an underground fucking fallout shelter. Like, if we don't keep track of what episode we're on recording, it really doesn't fucking matter. But we've got lots of cool shit to talk about.
Yeah. It's been an eventful week in the world, somewhat.
Definitely. We had the fucking Star Wars trailer dropped. Fast 8 dropped. Yuri Boyka dropped, Undisputed 4. Man, there's loads to talk about. Like, the internet's been flooded with all that fucking good shit that we love to watch and read about. So, yeah, man. We now present the fucking Slimehouse Shelter, episode 7. And how you doing, BA? You good, brother?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm all good. How's yourself?
Yeah, I'm chilling, man. I'm chilling. I went to watch Fast and the Furious 8, The Fate of the Furious. So I will be talking about that. And like I said, the Star Wars trailer dropped, and I'm a huge fucking Star Wars fan, so I can't wait to get into that shit. Are you a Star Wars guy? I don't think I've ever even asked.
I like things about it, mate. Obviously, you know I love my ninja and samurai shit.
Yeah.
And Star Wars is based... A lot of things in Star Wars is based off ninja and samurai shit, like the Jedi are the samurai, the ninjas are the Siths, the lightsabers are the katanas. It's basically a samurai film set in space. And I like the lightsaber battles, and I think lightsabers are cool. And obviously some of the imagery in the worlds in that are cool. Having said that, it's kind of like...
I sense the butt there.
I'm the guy that's always got, like, you know... But I think there's a bunch of good ideas and a bunch of not so good ideas operating within the same space. So there's some stuff I like in them and other stuff I don't.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm one of them guys that were like raised
that?
on it. Well, I was raised on Star Wars. It's in my fucking blood. I love it. I've got like pretty much every fucking kind of Star Wars figure from the fucking 70s and 80s. Like, I love that shit. Do you know what I'm saying? It really is in my blood. And I haven't got a bad word to say about Star Wars. I've got bad words to say about the 3 prequels that come out in the early 2000s, but that is it. Like, to me, Star Wars is A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And then you got your Force Awakens and your most recent one, Rogue One, which I talked a bit about last week. And yeah, bro, like when that trailer dropped, I'm watching it getting fucking goosebumps, mate. I love that shit so much. You know, in The Force Awakens, spoiler alert, when Han Solo dies, like that fucking got me hard right in the heart. And then at the end of the film, when you see Luke, oh man, that shit's in my blood as much as Marvel is. Do you know what I mean? I really, really love it. So when that
I did proper rate The Force Awakens. You know, I really rated that film, and I'm looking forward to this new one. It's just, obviously the 3 before that weren't that great, but it is what it is, man. I really like the last film, though. I treat each film in its own individual merit, and the last one was a good film, so I'm looking forward to the sequel to that good film.
The last one as in Force Awakens or Rogue One?
No, Force Awakens, I've yet to see Rogue One, but I thought Force Awakens was a very good just film. Because, like I said, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. I like lightsaber shit, though. I think all that's cool. And they didn't really even have much of it in that one. So there's more to come in the new trilogy with lightsabers, obviously. But I just thought, as a film, it was good.
Well, as we see from the trailer, we see that we see Rey. She's now training with Luke. And there's been some stipulation, and it's actually... I haven't confirmed this myself, but... I think one of the big twists is going to be that Rey is Luke's daughter. However, are you aware of Disney Infinity?
Infinity, no.
Yeah. Well, this is a new thing that Disney bring out now. Like, they bring these figures out where it's... I think it started with Spyro Skylanders. That were the first, like... They were the first people to do it. But you buy the game, Disney Infinity, and then you buy these figures that stand on the Infinity block that plugs into the Nintendo Wii or whatever it is now. I don't know if it's... I think it's just for Nintendo Wii or maybe PlayStation. I don't know, but it's something like a block, and you buy the figures and you stand them on it, and then they appear in the TV in the game. So you could be playing as Sully from Monsters Inc., and I could be playing as Darth Vader. Anything owned by Disney, so Marvel as well, and you just put them on, and then they come up on the TV on the computer screen, and you can play as that character. So you've not seen this technology, no?
I think I'm aware of what you're talking about, yeah.
Well, it's fucking cool, but yeah, if you get Rey, apparently there was some kind of glitch where I think she's doing something and she says, I don't know if I can do that, and then one of the other characters says well, you should be able to, you are the daughter of Luke Skywalker, and it was like something that's was not supposed to be in yet, do you know what I mean? So I think the big twist that it's going to be like Luke saying to her, like, Rey, I am your father. Do you know what I mean? Like, do the classic fucking Darth Vader line. I'm really fucking sure they're going to do that. So, yeah, that's kind of like speculation among the internet fans, Star Wars fanatics. That's what everyone's saying. And also there's word on the internet that Finn, do you know Finn? The Finn is the character that we were led to. He's the rogue stormtrooper that we was led to believe is like the Jedi of the film, because he's on the front cover holding the lightsaber. Yeah. But we obviously find out in the film that it's Rey that's the Jedi that we're following. Well, I think Finn is. I've seen something, and I don't know if it were real. So this is just take all this with a pinch of salt. But that his full name is Finn Windu, which would make him the great ancestor of Mace Windu, Samuel Jackson's character, do you know, in the prequel trilogy. So it's cool connection. Yeah. It's cool connection. It'd make sense. But that is all just like take all that with a grain of salt at the minute, a pinch of salt, whatever.
I'll tell you one thing from the trailer. Like, obviously, I'm looking forward to it still because the last film was sick. But it didn't introduce anything that I didn't see in the last film.
It's a teaser, innit? It's just to say it's coming. Get ready. We know it's coming,
but
but it's
do you know
just
what I mean?
teaser.
It didn't introduce any new Sith enemies. Didn't introduce any like new looking shit. Really, it was just like, yep, he's still here. They're still here. He's now training her, which was the very end of the first film. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's still going to be good, but I just was hoping there was going to be more Siths so we could get some more lightsaber action.
Oh, of course, mate. I'm that guy that just wants to see it all. I want it all. I want it now. But he's just a teaser. He's just to show this is when it's coming out. It's definitely happening. Get fucking ready. So there will be another trailer, and then there'll be another one after that at least. Like now with your big films, you get 3 big trailers, don't you? You get 3 trailers for pretty much everything now. The first one's just a little fucking dick tease, and then we see some more. I'm really fucking. Do you know what I'm really hoping comes back? I'm really up. Obviously, everyone will be like Boba Fett. I fucking love Boba Fett. That's my dude, and I really want him to come back. And I'm pretty sure they will bring him back, even if it were just for the amount of fucking toys they'll sell. They can still sell Boba Fett toys anyway, but introducing him to a whole new generation of kids and actually seeing him do more fucking damage. So obviously, I want to see Boba Fett, but I really want.
Well, even if Boba Fett doesn't show up in this one, they're obviously going to be making a Boba Fett film.
Course,
so
man.
maybe they'll hold off from that and like have him do his own film and then show up in the third one when he's already like a big entity in his own right. You know how Disney do.
I think he might end up showing up in the third one. I'd really like him to, but I'd really like to see some Lando Calrissian action. You know what I'm saying? And he's still there. He's still there. Like we can still have him. Do you know what I mean? The guy's still alive, and he never died in the series or anything like that. Let's get fucking Lando Calrissian back in there, walking around in his cape like a bad man. Let's get him in there.
Yeah,
Han
he was
Solo
the only
died.
black guy in the galaxy back in them
He was
days.
back in the day. Do you know what I'm saying? So we bring that dude back. Han Solo's died. That was his fucking boy. And it'd make sense for him to come back. He was the dude that originally had the Falcon. Do you know what I mean? It'd make sense that he comes back and flies the Falcon again with Chewie. Come on, Lucas. Come on, Brett. Come on, J.J. Abrams. And I need some fucking Lando Calrissian action. I also want to see Captain Phasma do something, because do you know Captain Phasma, the female stormtrooper, the silver one with a cape down one side of her arm? She looks cool as fuck, and she don't really do much in the Force Awakens. So I'm looking forward to seeing her do some shit.
She was underused, didn't it?
Yeah, but I think
I was watching this thing on YouTube one day though, and apparently like this whole backstory to her armor. Have you heard that?
Well, we see something like a bit of a flashback in Force Awakens, and it's apparently a nod to the Knights of Ren. So whether they're going to introduce that into... Well, in the trailer, we see more clips of that flashback with Captain Phasma walking forward, so maybe we'll see some more about where her armor come from and what she's about, and let's hopefully see her do some damage.
Well, apparently it's like scrap from... Remember in the Phantom Menace, that weird, completely silver ship they had?
Yeah.
So, like, it's apparently from some rebel silver ship that she scrapped and, like, used as a trophy or something.
Is that why?
It's just some random YouTube video I was watching one day, innit?
But, yeah, I mean, because she's actually, like, officially part of the fucking Empire, they don't usually seem to roll that way. That's more for, like, the bounty hunter, the rogue, do you know what I mean? The fucking scumbag that's hired to come in and go and capture someone because he's a sick bounty hunter, but he's not actually part of the Empire. Like, Boba Fett isn't actually a bad dude, I would never say. He works for the Empire, he works for Jabba the Hutt, he goes where the money is because he's a bounty hunter, he's a space pirate. But if Luke Skywalker offered him 5 times what Darth Vader were paying him, then he'd have worked for Luke Skywalker, because that is, to me, Boba Fett is not someone whose allegiance lie anywhere other than who's giving him the biggest paycheck. And I might be wrong, I don't know enough about the Star Wars fucking mythology to go deep into that, but to me, his bounty hunter allegiance is just where the biggest paycheck is, like any bounty hunter. But yeah, I want to see Boba Fett come back. So yeah,
you know what I think as well.
Man.
You know how you were saying Lando Calrissian will fly the Millennium Falcon. I reckon you know that guy who was a pilot in the first one,
Poe Dameron.
Who was very Han Solo-ish. Yeah, Poe Dameron. I reckon he'll end up flying the Millennium Falcon.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Well, we can only speculate for now, but I can't wait for it to come out. The thing that I love is that I know we discussed it a bit on the last episode when Ricardo was asking us about what do we feel about him building a universe. But like, I just love that for at least the next few years we're going to be getting like a Star Wars movie a year. It's a fucking good time to be a Star Wars fan. It's a good time to be a fan of all this shit. Do you think it lessens the
event of it now that it's going to be a yearly thing?
Well, no, because Marvel have like 2 or 3 films a year dropping, and all them are fucking awesome. So no, not at all. I think, like I said before, there's enough going on in the Star Wars universe for them to bring out one a year until further notice. That's fine.
Did you know that they almost had a fucking like crime show for television made set in the Star Wars universe?
I didn't know. What was that about?
Yeah, like George Lucas apparently had like 50 hours of scripts written, and it was all about all the different like crime lords.
Oh,
and it was just sort of like a sort of criminal orientated show about all the different alien crime lords and shit. You should look into that. Like, it was cancelled for some reason, but I don't know if it was going to be animation or live action or what, but for some reason it never got made. But there's like 50 hours worth of it written.
Well, just think, I mean, I've talked about him before. George Lucas released 2 full live action Ewoks feature films. He also released the Ewoks cartoon and the Droids cartoon and the Star Wars Holiday Special, all this shit that no one talks about that's out there. Like, he was at a point where he was doing all this shit years ago anyway. So it wouldn't surprise me now if they do a few fucking movies, and then even like a fucking Netflix or an AMC series of this shit like Disney have done with the Marvel stuff. Like it's all there. It's all there. It's a universe that he could effectively do stuff with, and of course a fucking crime drama about all this scumbag villainy across the galaxy would be epic. They just need a sick budget for it, and rights to tie it into the movies if needed. Which like rights to tie it into all the movies. It'd be fucking sick. So I'm looking forward to the Star Wars stuff, man. I can't wait. I booked that shit 4DX, and I'm there opening night every fucking year. Love that shit. Love it.
Nice.
And
yeah,
then,
I'm not hating. I'm looking forward to the new film as well. Should be alright.
And then we've also, like I said, Fast 8 dropped this week. So I went to watch Fast 8 a couple of days ago. The Fate of the Furious. Are you a Fast and the Furious guy, BA?
I watched the first two and then I lost interest about Tokyo Drift. I thought the first two were alright, but they're not like my proper type of film.
I think
they're good. They're good.
Yeah, they came out when I was in school, and they were like they'd just been part of our generation, since it was a time when like everyone bought Max Power and Fast Car magazines and shit, and like the Japanese mod scene had like come over here, and everyone were putting neons under the cars and sun strips in the windscreen, and putting decal vinyl down the side of the car and bucket seats and all that shit, and spraying all their interiors. It was just a time when that shit were huge. Do you know, like when the Ali G in the House movie came out and he got the GT Turbo all kitted out? Like it was a time when everyone were loving the modded car scene. So the first few films were all about street racing. They had the criminal elements in them, but there was essentially street racing movies, and that's what the first three films are pretty much all about. And then after Tokyo Drift, I kind of lost interest for a bit. I won't lie, I lost interest for a few years because I knew that Han had died in Tokyo Drift, and then the fourth film came out and Han was in it, and then a fifth film where Han was in it and stuff, and I was like, what's going on? Are these prequels? Now I'm not a big fan of prequels, so I was like, I'll just skip them. And then the trailers I watched of them, and I watched the trailers, and I'm like, they're not even about street racing anymore. I want them to be about street racing like they should be. They just look like fucking crazy action movies now. So for a few years I weren't arsed, you know what I mean? And then one night, my boy Trickster were coming around to watch some movies, because he always comes around and watches films. There'll be about 5 or 6 of us, get a takeaway and watch some movies, you know what I mean? And Trickster says, I'll bring some films round. And I said, you know what, bring Fast and Furious, because it was when I think 7 was coming out. So I like, bring Fast and Furious, I won't mind watching them. At the same time, I caught up on all the Resident Evil movies that I'd not seen. Do you know the Resident Evil movies with Mila Jovovich?
Yep.
Now they're a whole different thing. I didn't enjoy them, but that's a whole other thing. But I just wanted to catch up on them. Do you know when there's like 3 or 4 films you've not caught up on in the series, and you think they're all right just to have on in the background when there's a few boys over and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, we watched Fast and the Furious 4, 5, and 6 in one night, and I'm so fucking happy I did, because I fucking loved them. I loved them, and how they all tied into each other, and how it made sense that how Han died in Tokyo Drift, and then you find out it's Jason Statham that killed him, and then you're like, oh man, I've got to see number 7 now. Jason Statham killed Han. That's like everything's gone full circle. So I watched 7 in cinemas, fucking loved it, and then just watched The Fate of the Furious. And yeah, it was fucking awesome. And again, it ties up a lot of stuff from other films. What I like about these films, BA, is that something happens and then they pass the next one to a next director, and he kind of has to piece together why the events of the last film went the way they did. You know what I mean? And I can relate to that, because with my movie, I shot it such a long time ago that a lot of it got scrapped, and then I kept certain bits because I liked the scenes, but then I had to refilm other stuff and write new bits to make those scenes make sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I kind of relate to the directors having to like patch stuff together from films before where they didn't really know where they were going with them, but now they've kind of built a nice linear structured storyline. It's a bit fucking, you've got to stretch your imagination to make it all work, but they have at least made an attempt to clear, you know, all the little mishaps up, or anything that like didn't quite explain itself is now being explained. Mm-hmm. Something that, to my mind, the Fox X-Men should have fucking done ages ago, and they kind of sorted it a bit out with I think it were Days of Future Past. They kind of sorted out all the timeline and then fucked it up again. Well, so they fucked that up, but the Fast and the Furious, they kind of rejigsawed all the bits together that didn't make sense, and now they've got a nice fucking moving forward kind of attitude with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and obviously this was the first Fast and the Furious that doesn't feature Paul Walker. Obviously, he tragically died whilst filming Fast 7. And they had to patch stuff together and use his brother and do motion capture and stuff, do you know, to like make the movie linearly make sense. So this
like
was the
Brandon
first
Lee and The Crow.
Exactly, brother. Exactly. That was back before they could rotoscope faces and put them over people and use effects to make it look like a dude's in a scene when he isn't. So this was the first one we was going into without Paul Walker. And they fucking smashed it, do you know what I mean? The first half of the film, I was a bit like, oh, it's moving a bit quick here. I don't know if I'm really catching what's happening, or is it... But then, nah, it was fine. It was sound. What I love about these movies now is they know that they're big, over-the-top fucking action, stupid, unrealistic stuff. But for some reason, they kind of do big, over-the-top action, but still make you believe that it could actually happen. You think on the right day, with the right wind in the air and the right fucking the right amount of momentum, and if he jumped at the right time, I reckon you could make that jump. Do you know what I'm saying?
Like a hole in one.
Yeah, like a hole in one. There's a bit that people are talking about where a missile gets fired across fucking ice from a... I'll just let them know. There'll be some spoilers. I always spoil films on the podcast. Do you know what I mean? You don't listen to it if you don't want to hear the spoilers. But I always warn people. Yeah, but spoilers for Fast 8 if you're bothered. At the end of the film, the big finale takes place in Russia on like a big ice capsule, a big ice plane, and there's a submarine underneath the ice, and it fires a fucking missile, and it fires up and through the ice, and then it's flying across the ice towards the Fast family. And The Rock, while driving, leans out and pushes the fucking missile firing full speed with his arm and rediverts it into the bad guys' trucks. And you just think, but when you're watching it, you think, do you know what? If you was going at the right speed and you was as strong as the fucking Rock, he might just be able to do it. And I think that's what they do with Fast and the Furious. They don't have any. They have a lot of big over the top set pieces, but they're always done to a point where you think, maybe, just maybe, you could do that on the right day if the fucking Lord was on your side for that 1 second. You know what I mean? So yeah, I fucking loved it. And do you know Charlize Theron? She plays the bad girl in it. Bad girl, should I say? The bad guy, the antagonist. And she's fucking ruthless, brother. She's ruthless. So check this, right? Have you seen the trailer for the movie?
I have not seen the trailer, I don't think. Is it the one with the tank, or was that the one before
You're
it?
killing me, bro. No, the one with the tank was two before this. That was number 5. Well, in this movie, basically,
okay.
The storyline is that Vin Diesel has gone rogue, and he's turned on the family. Now, anyone that watches Fast and the Furious knows that the family aspect is the thing that drives the franchise. It's all about the family. He always says, "I don't have friends, I have family." He's a big family guy. So for him to turn rogue on all his family, what could that be? Do you know what I'm saying? So after a huge fucking drive through Miami, a big set piece of a street race through Miami. They always have a race scene in there. They're not the foundations of the franchise anymore. Anyway, he's in Miami on his honeymoon with Michelle Rodriguez, and he bumps into Charlize Theron, looking fucking piff. She's there trying to make a car work, and Vin Diesel comes out and he's like, "Oh, do you need a hand?" And she says like, "Yeah, if you can help me," kind of thing. So he starts looking at a car. And then she name drops him. She says, "You're Dom." And he's like, "How do you know my name?" kind of thing. And she says, "Oh, I know everything about you. I know that you're going to get your coffee from the shop. It's the one such and such place. You like your coffee black, right?" And he looks at her like, "What the fuck's going on?" And then she just shows him her phone, and she's like, "What do you think to that?" And he just looks at her phone, and she's like, "So you're going to work for me now?" And he just keeps looking at the phone. She's like, "And you're going to betray your family? And you're going to go against everything you fucking stand for? And that's how it's going to be." So and Vin Diesel don't question it. Do you know what I mean? So you're thinking, what's he seen on his phone? What's he seen on her phone that could do this? That could make him, do you know, like not question what she just said. So basically, throughout the whole, then he just turns on his team, and throughout the whole film, he's fucking like doing her bidding, collecting like all this mad fucking like nuclear power reactors and bombs and stuff, and triggers and all sorts of mad shit. She's like a cyber terrorist, and she flies around in a fucking aeroplane in space in the sky that's untraceable. And you're just thinking, why is he doing this? And all the family are like, why is Dom turned on us? But then you find out that basically, in the Fast and the Furious 4, Letty, do you know Michelle Rodriguez? She gets killed. She's dead. And then in the next film, she comes back, but she's got no memory, and she's working with the bad guys. No, in number 6, she's working with the bad guys. No, it's number 5. She's working with the bad guys. Fucking hell, it confuses me. Do you know what I mean? There's so many.
Fuck's sake, Theo.
It confuses me. There's so many, bro. Anyway, and in those 3 films that I'm getting confused with, she turns bad, and then she gets her memory wiped, and all this kind of thing. So in that time when Vin Diesel thinks that she's dead, he gets a new girlfriend, Helena, and he's seeing her for a bit. It's whatever. And then in this film, you find out that Helena and Vin Diesel had a kid together, but Vin Diesel never knew about it. So that's why he's doing this bidding for Charlize Theron, because she's like, if you don't do what I tell you, I'm going to kill Helena and I'm going to kill the fucking kid. So you do what I fucking say. You betray all your team and do my fucking mug work. Otherwise, I'll just put a bullet in your baby's skull. So he's doing her bidding. And then it comes to a point where there's a huge fucking set piece through New York. It's sick. You get these cars now that have like computers in them and shit. And you can like with automatic drive functions and that kind of thing. And Charlize Theron, she's called Cypher. Her character Cypher, she can hack anything that's electronic, and she hacks all these cars to act like zombies. So there's like fucking thousands of cars through New York, like World War Z style, like all just crashing round corners together, like just a swarm of cars. It looks fucking cool. So there's a whole set piece where this happens in New York, and it comes to a point where Vin Diesel has the opportunity to shoot Michelle Rodriguez, and he doesn't shoot her. So when he gets back into Cypher's plane, she says to Vin Diesel, she's like, I fucking asked you to do something and you didn't do it. Why didn't you shoot Letty? And he's like, I'm not shooting her. So she's like, it's alright, because now I'm going to show you why I'm in business. And she just gets a dude to fucking shoot Helena in the fucking skull, his ex-girlfriend, in front of the kid. And she's like, next time it's your fucking kid. Do as you're fucking told, cunt. Do you know what I'm saying? So you're like, raw. Damn. This bitch is ruthless, bro. She's a fucking bitch, mate. She's ruthless. She's the devil. And then you kind of find out there's a whole other thing, because in the film before this, Jason Statham's the bad guy, and he's the bad guy because in the film before that, his brother, they went up against his brother, and then they fucking like they injure him. So in the film after, Jason Statham comes back to get revenge for his brother, and he's like the sickest special forces fucking killer in the world. So yeah, just brushing over that loosely, they're forced to team up with Jason Statham to take out Cypher, because they don't like each other, but they don't like Cypher even more. So yeah, man, without going into the whole movie, everyone fucking reps. Jason Statham's cool as fuck in it, do you know what I mean? Ellen Mirren's in there, she plays Jason Statham's mum. Kurt Russell's in there, Scott Eastwood's in there, there's a ton of fucking cool names, and yeah, I really love the film, it's cool as fuck. What was really, really good is, basically, Jason Statham is the dude that killed their friend Han. Do you know in Tokyo Drift? The Japanese guy that gets killed while they're driving through the street? Yeah? Right. You've seen Tokyo Drift, yeah? Oh, you hadn't seen Tokyo Drift?
No, Tokyo Drift was the one of...
I love Tokyo Drift. Well, Han is the character that the dude meets in Tokyo Drift, a Japanese dude, and he gets killed during a street race. But then a few films later, you find out that he was actually killed by Statham, who ploughed into him in his car, and the car blew up. So throughout this film, they're effectively working with a guy that killed one of their fucking team members. But in the end, you kind of find out that he only killed him because he was also under pressure by this Cypher. She's someone that's... To make it all make sense why they would work with someone that killed the friend, they've kind of said, you know what, they were all being manipulated by Cypher for the past few films. And in the end of the movie, Jason Statham rescues Vin Diesel's son. So they can kind of, alright, you killed our friend, but you've brought my son back, so we can leave it at that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And the son's still not got a name. So at the very end of the film, when they're doing the classic scene where they all sit around the table having a big sick buffet, Vin Diesel picks up the son and he looks at all the people around his table, all his family, and he says, like, look, this is my son, and I want to introduce you all to Brian. Which was a really cool fucking nod, because obviously Brian is the character played by Paul Walker in the franchise, and sadly Paul's no longer with us, no longer in the films. So it's like there is a Brian still in the movie, and it's Vin Diesel's son. So I thought that was a nice touch to end the film on. Do you know what I mean? I came away from the film feeling good. So overall, I really liked Fast. And you know what I like about Fast as well, bro? They're keeping the action genre alive. They're keeping that in high octane, high intense, big fucking muscle dudes shooting guns, blowing shit out of the sky. They're keeping that alive. Do you know what I mean? That's something that really is fucking seriously dying in our generation. In a generation where everything's really fucking metrosexual and stuff, or everything's very PC, and you can't just shoot people for no reason. Do you know what I mean? They keep the fucking Stallone and Schwarzenegger style action movie alive, and that's what I love about the Fast and the Furious. Although they're not street racing movies anymore, do you know what I kind of see them like? I see the characters as like a GTA movie. Like in GTA, especially the last one, you've got like a team of all fucking different dudes. You've got Trevor, you've got Mike, you've got Franklin. All very different dudes from different backgrounds. None of them are like special forces trained and shit. They're just street dudes that are very fucking good at what they do. And they go from doing little petty crime and street racing to hijacking fucking bomber planes out of the sky and stuff, and hijacking fucking boats and doing mad like espionage jobs and all that kind of thing. But they are still just street dudes, do you know what I mean? And I like that. I like that in Fast and the Furious, these guys very rarely all get like kitted up in like tactical gear like the Expendables. They just like roll on these missions in like the trainers and the hoodie and shit. And I just like that. I like that these dudes are picked because they're just fucking sick, not because they're the best special forces trained in the world. Like The Rock and Statham's character are, but all the other ones are just street people. And I like that you get these street level dudes doing big fucking set piece action stuff. Like in the one before, they dropped a load of planes with parachutes attached to them a load of cars with parachutes attached to them out of a plane into like an enemy hotspot. And that's just straight out of GTA, do you know what I mean? So big up the fucking Fast and Furious franchise every time, and I really think you should go back and check them out. And anyone that feels the same as BA, like they lost interest in the series, go back, revisit it. Just have a fucking Friday or a Saturday night where you get a takeaway and just blast through 3 or 4 of the movies. You will not be disappointed, man. They know that they're stupid. They know that they're over the top. They never said that they aren't. Do you know what I mean? They accept what they are and they run with it, and they produce good quality fucking action movies. And sometimes when you're just with your boys and you want to watch something fucking good that you don't have to hang on to every word because you might miss a plot point, just fucking enjoy some Fast and the Furious, man.
Fair enough.
So that's all I wanted to say about that. Have you got anything you wanted to talk about, bro? I felt like I've talked a lot there. I need a little breather.
Well, there was the UFC on Fox 24 card last night.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Which I stayed up and watched. There's a couple of fights I want to talk about on that card. It was one of them cards where there wasn't any like big stars that people outside of the sport would have heard of, but if you're an MMA fan, there was like decent fighters all the way up the card. Like Bobby Green was fighting. I'm a huge fan of Bobby Green. Unfortunately, he lost. It was quite a disappointing night for me, to be honest, because let me go through this shit. So I'm a fan of Roy Nelson. Roy Nelson lost the decision. I'm a fan of Jeremy Stevens. Jeremy Stevens lost the decision. I'm a fan of Jacare Souza. Now, Jacare Souza is a guy that should have got his title shot about 3 or 4 fights ago, and due to a bunch of bullshit, he's the last person that's been given his deserved title shot. And unlike a lot of people in that position, he chose not to sit out and wait for it. He chose to stay active and keep fighting people. And yet, unfortunately for him, he fought Robert Whittaker, who's a great striker, and Robert Whittaker stopped and finished him in the second round. Not that it wasn't a great performance from Whittaker, but it's just a crying shame that my man never got his title shot, and now that he's taken a loss, who knows when the next time he will actually get one is. usually, like I was saying, the purity of the UFC should be you punch people, you keep winning, and you'll get what you deserve. But unfortunately, every now and again, due to WWE style matchmaking, some people have to wait longer than usual to get the deserved title shots, and Jacare is just a tragic story from that mold, where he should have got his deserved title shot several fights ago and made all that money that a champion does, but now he has to start right back again because he comes off the back of a brutal loss. So yeah. And then in the co-main event, Thug Rose Namajunas, yeah. I've always rated Thug Rose because she goes out with a fella called Pat Barry, and Pat Barry was always one of my favourite guys to watch in the UFC when he fought in it, because he came from a kickboxing background. He had really good stand-up. He fought a heavyweight. So that's Pat Barry's missus. So she trains with all them lots. So she's got very good jiu-jitsu and very good Muay Thai. And she fought a chick called Michelle Watterson, who's very tough actually, a lot tougher than I first thought, because she's like a very good looking chick. And sometimes UFC gets real good looking chicks into the weight classes on their rosters who aren't necessarily killers. They're just a pretty chick to put on a poster, you know what I mean?
Always helps.
But Michelle Watterson's legit, but Thug Rose choked her out in the second round. It was a great performance by her. And which brings us to the main event. Demetrius Johnson is essentially the pound for pound number one fighter in the world. He just last night equaled Anderson Silva's UFC record of 10 straight title defenses. But you don't even know Demetrius Johnson, do you, Theo?
No.
You know why? It's because he's a flyweight, and unfortunately flyweights are really under promoted. But if you watch Demetrius Johnson, he's technique wise, obviously it's the same as boxing. The lighter the weight classes, the less knockouts you see, but a higher level of technique and cardio you see. And Demetrius Johnson's technique in all aspects of MMA is second to none. His jiu-jitsu's incredible, his wrestling's incredible, his striking's amazing, his speed, distance, time, engaging and range, hand-eye coordination, field of depth perception, everything is just, he's got absolutely everything, mate. And he put on another completely flawless, dominant performance, and he finished him in the third round with an armbar. So yeah, it equaled Anderson Silva's record, and with his next fight, he may become the single greatest champion in UFC history, and he deserves to get more press than he does, to be honest.
Yeah, he definitely sounds slept on.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that was UFC on Fox 24. Yeah, like I said, it's not one for the people that aren't hardcore fans of MMA, but for people that are hardcore fans of MMA, it was a great card, mate. And and I'm looking forward to as well. We have next month, so May, on the 13th. It's Stipe Miocic against Junior Dos Santos, and that is going to be a sick fight. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's the next big UFC that I'm going to be talking about on the Lowdown Shelter.
You'll be covering that on the. I remember when it was years ago. You came to. I know how much you're into this shit. I appreciate UFC as much as MMA as much as any working class fucking knuckler, do you know what I mean? But like, I know how much you love this shit. I remember one time you came to Sheffield. Remember, you came all the way up from Glasgow, and we was all going to a hip hop event together. And then you remembered, oh shit, MMA's on tonight. Yo, I can't come out. I've got to stay in. I've got to hold the fort, and I've got to watch MMA. I can't come out. And you actually fucking stayed in when we all went out to this fucking hip hop gig, so you could watch fucking out you MMA. Do you remember that with Pseudonym and Saint Bastard and shit?
No, I don't even remember, but what fight was it?
What was it? It was a very good event. You was buzzing. Bro, it was like fucking 2012 or some shit. There was quite a lot of good fights in 2012. It was that night when we got big up Fairley every time, Saint Bastard and Pseudonym. They were like big in Don't Flap at the time. and we got Furley. Furley came back drunk, and he was just like, BA, you're a fucking legend, you're best battler ever. And we got him to bow to you. Do you remember? We were like, Furley, if you respect...
I don't even
Shut
remember
up,
that.
You do.
You would have thought I remembered someone bowing
But we
to me,
were saying, Furley, if you like BA so much, bow to him. And he goes, I will bow to BA. And he got in on his knees and bowing, and you're going, oh, mate, you don't have to do that. And we were all pissing ourselves. God.
Oh,
I'm glad I remembered that.
Well, fair play, man, fair play. All I can say is he's got a great taste, but he need not
Great
bow,
taste
you know
in
what I mean?
battlers. So moving on from it, well, segueing from MMA, from the real MMA to something that I watched this week, which was Undisputed 4. Are you a fan of the series, BA?
I've seen Undisputed 1 and 2.
But you're not watched 3, no?
I have not seen Undisputed 3, no.
Just a little recap for anyone that's not familiar with the Undisputed series. It originally started as a boxing movie, a prison boxing movie with Wesley Snipes and Ving Rhames. And that's what it was. It was just like a cool film about two dudes in prison boxing, and Wesley Snipes is the Wesley Snipes is the guy. Did I say Wesley Snipes before? Did I say Vinnie Jones by accident like a fucking moron?
No, you said
I
Wesley
don't know.
Snipes.
I got Vinnie Jones in my head. I don't know why.
Jones, though. Where the fuck did Vinnie Jones get brought
because-
into this? He would get pulverised by Ving
Because
Rhames,
I've
man.
got ADHD and my brain's a fucking bag of cats half of the time. But yeah, it's just that...
When Zed said bring in the Gimp, he didn't mean Vinnie Jones.
No. So anyway, yeah, it's a boxing movie with Wesley Snipes and Ving Rhames. And then in the second film... Oh yeah, and basically... Wesley Snipes is like the prison boxing champion, and Ving Rhames is a boxer called Iceman that's like world famous that gets sent to prison. So when he's in prison, he starts getting into prison boxing, and he has a fight with Wesley Snipes, and that's it. It's a cool film. It's like a 90s movie. I don't know the exact date, but it's like it is what it is. And then they released a straight to DVD sequel, Undisputed 2, where instead of Ving Rhames, it starred Michael Jai White. And Michael Jai White is at the start of the film is a boxer. He gets sent back to prison, and he's thrown into a fucking MMA fight. So he has to start to learn MMA. And the bad guy, the MMA boxing, the MMA prison champion, is Scott Adkins, who we always talk about on this show. I can't fucking big the guy up enough. Playing, in my opinion, his greatest role ever, always his most iconic role, the character of Yuri Boyka, the Russian fucking MMA prison legend champion, the hardest fucking...
You know Scott Adkins, by the way, is going to be a guest on a future Lowdown Shelter episode. Because I swear we name drop him more than any other media outlet, so he can fucking give us a guest episode. We've got
to get him on there. But yeah, so he's the bad guy in number 2. He's a fucking piece of shit. He's snapping people's necks, no fucking remorse. And the whole film is about Michael Jai White learning how to fight MMA to beat Yuri Boyka in prison. And
shout out Michael Jai fucking White, by the way. There's a guy that's right up there with Scott Adkins.
Do you know what I'm saying?
For me. And we don't shout him enough. I thought Never Back Down 1 was such a fucking cheesy representation of MMA.
It is.
And then when Michael Jai White came in for Never Back Down 2, I was instantly more into it, man.
But I do love Never Back Down.
Have you seen Never Back Down 2?
Yeah, I've seen 1 and 2. I've not seen number 3, which came out recently. But 1 and 2.
What did you think of 2?
Yeah, it's sick. Me and my boy up at me watched it. Like and I love Michael Jai White. You've seen Blood and Bone and Spawn and all these movies, man. Michael Jai White's just and Skin Trade. He's just a fucking G in it. For the guy's size, how he moves, he's just like, I don't know how that works, but it does, and he's a fucking spectacle.
For those of you that haven't seen it, I don't know if it's on YouTube, but there's a scene in Never Back Down 2 with a bunch of corrupt police officers handcuff him.
Yeah, and he fights them all.
Yeah, and he takes out all the cops with handcuffs on. It's sick.
Well, yeah.
Sorry for interrupting you. I just needed
fine.
to shout out the fucking Don, Michael Jai White.
Be done. And if we could ever get him on a podcast, I would lose my fucking shit because he's just the guy. I'd just spend a whole 2 hours just bigging him up. And fucking
yeah, man.
And just telling him how cool he is. But yeah, so basically in Undisputed 2 we get introduced to the bad guy, the antagonist, protagonist, whatever, the evil dude of the film, Yuri Boyka. And in that film he's just a horrible fucking scumbag. And at the end of the movie, Michael Jai White snaps his fucking knee. he snaps Yuri Boyka's knee to win the fight, and then they released Undisputed 3. And what I really like about this film is that it's all about Yuri Boyka, and he becomes the dude. The film opens and Yuri Boyka he can't fight anymore. He's got a busted knee, and it just follows his. He gets forced back into fighting, into a tournament where they get fighters from prisons all over the world and put them in this tournament together. And they're like, if you win the tournament, you can be released from prison. Obviously, it's all a blag. But it's got the dude, I forget his name, but he's in Never Back Down. He's in Warrior King. He's like the real-life Eddie Gordo from Tekken, the capoeira dude with dreadlocks. He played Baraka in the Mortal Kombat YouTube series. But he's a Brazilian dude with dreadlocks that does sick capoeira. Do you know him?
Nah. Oh, Latif Crowder.
If that's his name. There's only one guy that's that good at capoeira that looks exactly like Eddie Gordo.
Yeah.
He even played Eddie Gordo.
Latif Crowder, man, he's a fucking
boss. He even played Eddie Gordo in the Tekken movie. That's how much he looks and acts like Eddie Gordo. Anyway, he's in it and stuff. Like, there's loads of cool characters in Undisputed 3. And we follow the turnaround of a dude that was originally the bad guy to now being the guy, the hero of the movie that we're following, yeah? So Yuri Boyka becomes the guy that we're following. So it's no longer about Iceman. It's about Boyka. And then in Undisputed 4, the newest one that comes out, he's now escaped from prison and he's fighting on the... So I was really looking forward to this movie because Undisputed just have the fucking sickest fight scenes in movies, the sickest MMA fight scenes. And it's all very over the top, and they're doing a ton of moves that don't work in real life, and it's all like a lot of fucking high-octane, high-flying kicks that where guys look like they're on wires, but they're not. They're just that fucking cool. So it opens with some sick fights as always, and we see now that Yuri Boyka is out of prison, and he's got the opportunity to go into real life, their equivalent of UFC, like big professional fighting, televised. You're gonna be a fucking celebrity and all this shit. All you've got to do is win a fight. He's got to win one fight, and then he can go to the big leagues. So he has a fight and he wins it, and he gets the opportunity to go to the big leagues, but he accidentally kills the dude in the ring. Now, the thing that didn't quite work for me initially is that in Undisputed 2, Yuri Boyka's there snapping people's necks, killing cunts, loving it, don't give a fuck if he kills people, do you know what I mean? He's in prison, he's in prison because he's a fucking horrible bastard. But by this point in his life, he's had a turnaround and he kills this guy by accident and he can't deal with it. So they say, don't worry about it, you didn't mean to kill him, just make sure that you're on this fucking coach in 2 days to go, to like the big leagues, the UFC effectively. And he doesn't, he goes back to the homeland of this guy that he's killed to try and to give the money that the guy that he won for the fight to the widowed wife of the guy he killed, and he ends up getting tied up with all this fucking mafia and shit and goes back into fighting. It's just an excuse to have a load of fucking cool fights and not have the budget, and they don't have the budget to put on a big UFC style event, do you know what I'm saying? Which is a shame, because I'd love to see a film where Yuri Boyka's in the UFC kind of thing. But effectively, he goes back into underground fighting. But at the end of the film, he has to fight the dude from Warrior King. What's he called? The huge dude, Nathan Jones. He has to fight Nathan Jones at the end of the movie, who's like a fucking... He's got like a Hannibal Lecter mask on, and he gets dragged in by prison guards with chains around his neck and shit. Like this big fucking feral beast of a dude. So he's the guy that he has to fight at the end of the movie. But then after he's fought him, then it turns into a bit of a shootout. He has to get a gun and have a fucking shootout with a load of guards and shit. So it's fucking cool, man. It's just a shame that we never actually see Yuri Boyka get into the UFC big leagues, because that's effectively where he needs to be. If he's the most complete fighter in the world, he don't want to be fighting in prisons. Yeah,
that'll be the next film.
Well, I hope so, brother, because that's what it needs. That's what I was hoping was going to be in the end of this movie. I thought in the end of the movie we're going to see him walk into the big UFC, but we don't. We never see it. So I really hope that's where they take the next one if they do another one, which I'm sure they will, because they make money.
Fun fact, by the way, Nathan Jones's professional MMA record is 0 wins and 1 loss. He was submitted at the very first Pride FC event.
Really? I never saw that. So he did actually go into MMA for one fight?
this is back in the day, mate. This is like 1997. If it was like Pride FC 1 or whatever.
Obviously it was before WE then, because I know he was a wrestler for a bit.
Yeah. But yeah, so he got key locked, and then he never came back. But you know, who knows which fights were legitimate and which weren't at Pride 1? Because Pride 1 was the inception of it, kind of in Japan. And there was lots of pro wrestlers on the card, which always leads one to raise a fucking eyebrow, get me?
Yeah.
Who knows?
He was recently in the Mad Max movie, wasn't he? He played one of Immortan Joe's sons, like the big one with dolls round his neck.
You know what? I didn't even realise until you mentioned that. Also, obviously, from Warrior King.
Yeah.
But that's actually the only fight scene in Warrior King I didn't rate, you know. I didn't think the set piece with the giant elephant bones and shit worked that well. Every other fight scene in that film is fucking incredible.
In what film?
But Warrior King.
But you didn't like the one with Nathan Jones? Or the three big dudes at the end?
Nah, I wasn't rating the elephant bone shit.
No. Oh, I see what you see. Yeah, when he wraps the fucking bones around his end at the end. He's a bit out there, but it works. The film's fucking cool. I love that film, Warrior King. It's
a bad man film, though. Like, that scene where he fucking breaks an arm, leg, or neck of everybody in the room.
Yeah.
And the other scene where it's a tracking shot where he has to make it up 3 floors in this hotel. You must remember that. That's fucking incredible.
Yeah. Do I remember that scene? It's one of like the greatest fucking action scenes ever filmed. It's like it's on par with the fucking hard-boiled shootout scene in the hospital. Do you know what I mean? It's unbelievable. When he goes up the spiral staircase, he's throwing dudes off it and shit, and then it. Oh man,
I was going to say, see the planning it took, because I remember, see when he gets to like up to the first floor, or the second floor even, he gets to the second floor, and he slings a guy on his shoulders and then dumps him over the rail.
That's what I was going to say.
And the camera looks down with it, and the guy goes through the roof of like the little staff entrance hut.
Yeah.
And there's obviously a crash mat in there, but then he goes up to the 3rd floor. And he straight bundles another guy off. So, in between that time, they must have like inflated some fucking crash mat and slid it into place. Or
yeah, but then the camera then he does some more shit, and then the camera pans back down, and we see the dude on the floor crash. So they've like inflated it and then deflated it and took it away.
That's what I mean. They must have like wheeled in a crash mat, had him land, wheel him out, and then had all the people lie in position for the next time the camera looked down. Like, if you think about, and on top of that, the one thing that martial arts films usually hide really well is the actual cardio it would take to beat the living shit out of 20 people for 15 minutes straight. Like, that in and of itself is a physical impossibility. So for Tony Jaa to actually even get through that scene physically with all the flips and climbing and kicking and getting all the stunts right, if he missed, you know that bit like when the guy throws the vase at him and he slips it and it hits the 2 people below it. All it would take was that one stuntman to have some gimp shot with that vase. And then it's like, alright, reset. You know what I mean? So it's impressive.
And how many times they had to do that? They didn't do that in one take. That'll have been a few fucking tries.
Yeah, I believe I did watch it, and I think it was either like the 2nd or 3rd day they did it. So like, if you look at that though in comparison, I know you're going to talk about it in a bit, but by comparison, the scene in Kingsman's Secret Service in the church where they're all fighting each other that's
like heavily cut. Like, that's heavily like edited. That's not one shot. It's made to look like one shot, but it isn't.
Of course, but I'm just saying, by comparison, that took 2 weeks to film in its entirety. So the fact that they got it done on day 3 and the fact it's so incredible is very impressive.
Yeah, trust me, like, that side of the world just makes us look like such fucking shitheads when it comes to making movies. They can just do. Because
think about it, even for a low budget film, 3 days to film a intricate fight scene, you would expect it to be shit
and rebuild it
and
every
really
time they
quickly
smash it
put
up
together. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty impressive, man.
And also, I wanted to say that, you know, Nathan Jones, before he was a fighter. He was put in prison for armed robbery. Imagine that dude coming to fucking rob you with a strap. He's like
fucking hell, Nathan. You don't need a gun as well.
He's like 9 times the size of a normal human. Can you imagine? It was for 8 armed robberies offences between 1985 and 1987. And he was sent to prison for it, a maximum security prison. I can fucking imagine that dude robbing people. Fuck that. Like I'm not scared of another human, but that guy's like the size of 8 humans.
Yeah, it's just tough when people become that size, because size matters in a fight. And as much as, you know, you can learn kickboxing and jiu-jitsu and that, like, someone like that, even with no training, is just fucking hard to deal with on a natural level of just them being a tank alpha motherfucker. But yeah,
so we was talking about
Nathan Jones with a bit of knowledge on fighting. Fuck that.
So we was talking about Undisputed, and I was talking about Scott Adkins and the character Yuri Boyka, and something that will segue us into our next discussion is that Scott Adkins also appeared in Expendables 2, where he played the character. Basically, Van Damme, Jean Verlaine, Van Damme's like right-hand man, do you know, in Expendables 2. And he practically plays the same character of Yuri Boyka. He does the same accent and looks pretty much the same. Do you know what I mean? Stallone definitely said, "I want you to play it like Yuri Boyka when you play Jean Verlaine's like right-hand man." So I wanted to talk a little bit about Expendables, because there's been a lot of controversy last week about the possibility of Stallone walking away from the franchise, which is bizarre because it's his franchise, the Expendables. So this is what... Have you heard anything on this at all?
I heard you mention it briefly. The way I see it is, it's not the first time, like, bear directors have walked away from famous franchises and other directors have jumped in, and lots of stars have walked away from franchises, so it's not unheard of, do you know what I mean?
But why...
I know it is something that he made a lot of money from, but see, at the time that first came out, if we remember back to that time, people were calling Stallone done for like 15 years, or like at least 10 years. And he tried all them things like Get Carter and shit that just never came back for him. And then he was like, fuck it, I'm going to take it back to the franchises that are well known enough that they're definitely going to do something. So he made Rocky and Rambo, and then Expendables. So he was like, he brought himself back with his 2 classics, and then he presented something new and got an ensemble on board as well, and smashed it. And that's what brought Stallone back. See, now I think Stallone's put himself in a position where he's once again a top level dude, and he could probably get some, like, not the action films on series, but, you know, if he wants to get some actual proper roles in different films and shit again that'll do well, I think he's put himself in a position now where he can get that. So
yeah, brother,
I'm not mad at him for walking away from Expendables, because it did exactly what he wanted it to, and then, you know, he made some good ones, and then he's gone, innit?
Yeah, so what you're saying there is basically what I was thinking. Like, I'm the biggest fucking Expendables fan you will ever meet. I named my crew the Chef Spendables because of the film The fucking Expendables. Like, I love this franchise more than anything. It's fucking so close to my heart. I'm such a fucking fan of all these dudes, all the classic action heroes. And yeah, when he made the film, he was getting fucking shit on by Hollywood, you know what I mean? And everyone who was saying he's done, he's dead, he's past it kind of thing. So he made Expendables 1 in 2010, and then he made Expendables 2 and 3, all 3 fucking hard-hitting action films. Got all the best stars that he could get into them, do you know what I mean? He reached out to everyone that needed to be in it. He didn't get hold of everyone, but just think, he brought Chuck Norris back for his last ever fucking action role. It was the film that brought Stallone and Schwarzenegger together in the same movie. It brought newer dudes like Jason Statham into it, and Scott Adkins. He built a whole fucking universe of all the best action movie stars of all time, and a lot of them were expendable. Do you know what I mean? People that Hollywood had forgot about, Hollywood had shit on, and together with Avi Lerner, put together like my favorite franchise ever. But he said now that him and Avi Lerner can't agree on on the script for the fourth film. They can't quite get it right. Now, who knows why? Because I know Stallone loves this franchise more than anything. Who knows what it is that they're not agreeing on? However, like you said, in recent times since those movies, like, Stallone's kind of had a resurgence in his career. Like, let's not forget that he was nominated for a fucking Oscar last year for Best Supporting Actor in Creed. Dude's in fucking Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, just to name a few. This is a guy that now, and it takes a lot for me to say this, he's not expendable anymore.
And I don't think it's a coincidence as well that within 2 weeks there was news announced that he was going to be part of the Marvel universe, and then news announced he was stepping away from the Expendables franchise. That makes perfect sense to me.
It was announced that he were going to be in Guardians.
He's probably signed up for like.
It were announced a while ago that he were in Guardians, and at Comic-Con they showed a trailer that's still not been released that featured him in it. So we knew a while ago that he were going to be in the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I know for a fact that if he could, Stallone would still do the Expendables, because that for him is not a money-making thing. Stallone could never act in a movie ever again, and he wouldn't have to when he's going to live fucking eating whatever. He's eating like a king and living nice for the rest of his days. But he does this because he loves the fucking action shit. But if you've got to think, if Expendables is his baby and they're trying to turn it into something he doesn't want it to be, then all he can do is walk away. All he can say is, no, I'm not. I'd rather not be in it and it not be how I want it to be than be in it and it be shit. They're 3 fucking films that he did everything he needed to do with. And as much as I would love to see a 4th and a 5th and a 6th, because I love this shit and I love sequels and I love seeing all those dudes together, I fucking love Expendables. If he's walking away, I have to just... Stallone's my fucking hero. If he's walking away from the franchise, I have to support him. Do you know what I mean? And I can understand why. He's not expendable anymore. Like, you got to think, Dolph Lundgren has just been cast in the new Aquaman movie. The Aquaman movie that's coming out with Jason Momoa. How big of a franchise is that going to be? The DC universe.
Yeah.
So you've got Stallone going into the Marvel universe. You've got Dolph Lundgren going into Aquaman, and that's official. That's confirmed. He's playing King Nereus, which is like the bad guy in Aquaman. So the 2 guys that's killing it. Just think... fucking Mel Gibson was in the last Expendables film. A dude that was shit on by Hollywood because he said some stupid shit once, and since then it's like fucked his whole career up. He now is getting back into directing. He was just in Bloodfather, which is a fucking sick movie if you've not seen that. Like, Bloodfather was an awesome movie. Like, he was just on the round table, sat next to dudes like Denzel Washington and Tarantino and shit, and big fucking directors. Like, if you've ever seen the Round Table, they get like the biggest directors in the world, Danny Boyle and stuff, and put them all in the table together just talking about making movies. He was there with them. He's not expendable anymore. So if that franchise was to bring back some people who'd had careers that got shit on, then it did what it needed to do. Do you know what I mean? And as much as I would like to see that franchise carry on, if Stallone stepped away from it, I know he will have stepped away from it for very good reason. And also, what was nice to hear is Schwarzenegger said, if Stallone's not in it, I'm not in it either. So it kind of makes me think that maybe Avi won't even bother bringing out another Expendables movie.
And to me, that's kind of a victory for him, because 10 years ago films were walking away from him, and now he's walking away from films. So look at it that way. So
obviously it's his franchise. Stallone wrote and directed the first Expendables, wrote the next 2, and they were directed by different people. But he wrote and directed the first one, and just wrote 2 and 3. That's his franchise. You know what I mean? He's got all them dudes together because he's fucking coordinated all that chaos. And even bringing like Robert Davi back. When is Robert Davi going to be playing a villain in a fucking cinema released movie anytime soon? Stallone brought him back. He didn't have to. It's his boy. He brought fucking Wesley Snipes back. Pretty much the second Wesley Snipes come out of prison, Stallone was practically waiting for him. Like, I got you, bro. You're in the Expendables. I got you a movie role. People like getting Antonio Banderas in there and shit. Cool fucking people that you want to see on the same team. All his old villains from movies working with him. He brought it back, and I would love to see him go further with it. But if they're not going to do it right, don't do it, because I don't want to see that franchise turn to shit, because I love it so much. So for now, that's where we're at with Expendables. He's doing another Escape Plan movie. Did you watch Escape Plan with him and Schwarzenegger?
I did not.
Bro, that's another sick one you need to check out. That's Escape Plan with Stallone and Schwarzenegger. The first proper film where it was just them two starring in it, where he's in like a high-tech prison and they've got to escape. He's doing another one of them now. He's just finished filming it, I think. I saw on his Instagram, and that's with Batista, so we've got that to look forward to. And obviously, like I just said, he's going to be appearing in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a huge franchise. Marvel is like one of the biggest franchises ever. Do you know what I mean? And he's going to be and he's going to be playing a character in Guardians of the Galaxy. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about who he might be playing in Guardians of the Galaxy. Are you familiar with the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise? Have you watched the first one?
No,
Oh,
I have
you're
not.
killing me, bro. Guardians of the Galaxy is fucking
I
sick.
know about
yeah,
it. I'm familiar with it, but I just haven't watched it.
There was a Comic-Con trailer released last year, and a Comic-Con exclusive that no one else has ever watched, you know, like outside the con. And that's when we first saw that Stallone was going to be in the film. Now, there was some talk of it because he was seen leaving the same hotel where Kurt Russell and everyone was staying whilst during filming, holding a script in his hand. It could have just been by chance, do you know what I mean? But it turns out he's actually in the movie. Now, James Gunn, the director, has confirmed it's only a small role, but in the bigger picture, it's a very fucking significant role. And that's all we know at the minute. People who watched the Comic-Con trailer said that he looked like he was wearing Ravager garms, Ravager regalia clothing, which is like red leather kind of clothes that all the Guardians wear. Ravagers are like the space pirates. Right. Michael Rooker's one of the main fucking Ravagers in Guardians of the Galaxy. And they said he was wearing an outfit suited to a Ravager. And recently they released like a kid's book of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I got one when I bought Star Wars Rogue One, and they're called a junior novel. A junior novel is basically just like a simplified version of the story put in book form, and that come out before the movie, obviously, in like Italy or something, and it's been translated to A Legend Amongst Ravagers, and his name's Starhawk. So I think that's who Stallone's going to be playing, and Starhawk is one of the original, kind of like one of the original Guardians of the Galaxy lineup from back in the day. Same as Michael Rooker's character Yondu, but like he was one of the original Guardians, like a guy with a red mohawk, a big blue dude with a bow and arrow, and they've kind of reinvented him and had him now like a space pirate with a metal mohawk and like a telepathic kind of arrow that he fights with. So I think that Stallone's going to be in the vein of that, like a legend amongst the Ravagers. So that'll be cool. Like if you're gonna have a dude who's like the main fucking space pirate that coordinates the villainy and the fucking of every single space pirate, he needs the dude that's in charge of them all, like the head kingpin boss. Then I'm happy for Stallone to play that. So I think that's cool as fuck. Yeah,
man, I'm with it.
So yeah, moving on. What else we got to talk about? The Mist. There's going to be a Mist TV series. It might be a Netflix exclusive if I remember, and that the trailer for that just dropped. I don't know if you watched the trailer for that.
No, I haven't, but I was a big fan of the film.
Yeah, man, the film's fucking awesome. I recently watched it again. It must be like the fucking 50th time I've watched it. I originally watched the Mist at Dead by Dawn Horror Film Festival in Edinburgh, actually. Close to your stomping ground, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I battled there in January. Shout out to the Edinburgh people. I was welcomed warmly.
That's it, I'm going back in a few months. Yeah, Edinburgh's fucking awesome, and we used to go every year to the horror film festival there. And when you're at a festival, they show so many movies that I don't anyway. I don't look at what every single film's about. I just go in and watch them. It's kind of nice. Sometimes it's shit because you go in and watch a film that's fucking wank, and then you have a look back on the write up for it, and you're like, it sounds wank. Why? I would have never watched that if I'd have known. But then every now and again you stumble upon a gem, and one year I stumbled upon The Mist. So I went into the film knowing nothing other than Stephen King had wrote the original story of it, and yeah, we watched it in the cinema, knowing nothing about it or what it was about, and was just fucking blown away. Now, anyone that's seen The Mist knows that not only is it a sick film with sick characters and it draws you in so much, that fucking ending, bro. That ending of The Mist is gotta be my best ending ever in any film. What a kick in the bollocks.
Do you know
man.
that that's not even the ending of the book?
No. So what's even cooler is that Stephen King watched that movie and he even said, I heard that he even said, this is not like fact, it might not be fact, but I heard that Stephen King said, if I'd have thought of that ending, that's the one that would have been in the book. That's even better than my ending.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
He did say that. He preferred that ending to his own.
That's crazy, isn't it?
But yeah, it's like, fuck it. We spoiler everything. If you haven't seen The Mist, it's your own fucking fault. But yeah, just that part is one of the darkest endings of any film I can think about, to be honest.
Like, the whole, if he'd have just waited like 5 minutes more, he would be safe and they would all be safe.
And the fact that by the end of the film it's clearly like in the ilk of a disaster movie but just with fucked up monsters.
Yeah.
So imagine if, like, at the end of Independence Day, Will Smith just turned round to his family and were like, oh yo, that sounds like the aliens are gonna get here, sorry about this. Pow, pow, pow. Do you know what I mean? It would have been fucked up, mate. Yeah, there's a lot of things I like about that film. I rate, because I've thought about this. I'm going to bust some science on you real quick.
Do it.
Okay. The general rule is, in order for you to be able to perceive something, it exists on a spectrum, right? So there's spectrums of colour, light, sound, yeah? And certain scientists theorise, and I believe this started with hold tight Nikola Tesla.
Tesla
theorised that there is frequencies of life. So in order for me to see you and you to see me just now and us to see this fucking dusty underground bunker, we all have to be on the same frequency so we can see each other, right? You follow me? So that's not to say, just like if you're listening to Radio 1, there isn't a Virgin Radio existing at the same time on a different frequency. And this is a scientific way of explaining what we used to call, alternate dimensions and that. Is, if they are real things, they're essentially just different frequencies of life operating within the same space on a spectrum. And the thing I liked about Mist is it sort of delves into that by the fact that the military are working on opening up this portal and things come through from the different portal. Because anytime you look into, different frequencies of life and that, all the stories of it, like the Philadelphia experiment, there's always some sort of weird shit on the different frequencies. But fuck it, I'm delving into science. Let's get back to the Mist.
I remember you telling me like years ago before I'd even watched The Mist that there was like theories of technology where soldiers, military could effectively switch onto one frequency and then switch back onto another one, like to get behind enemy lines and all this shit, effectively like teleporting and portal hopping.
Well, this comes from a conspiracy theory, and admittedly it's not one with concrete evidence, so it is just a straight up tinfoil hat one, but it's called the Philadelphia experiment. It's had films made about it and shit, but it was basically Nikola Tesla, obviously, as I was saying, was working heavily in trying to understand frequencies and how frequencies worked, and he was obviously doing all sorts of crazy shit, but apparently him and Einstein collaborated on the idea that if you could, like a radio tuner, build what a radio tuner does for sound to life, so like a radio tuner for frequencies of life, and they sort of pitched it as a cloaking mechanism, the ultimate stealth tool, because if you could, say, put a bubble round a platoon of soldiers and then change the frequency of life they're on, they're not just like invisible to the naked eye, they're gone. So it would be used for like the ultimate sneak attack, because soldiers could switch onto a different frequency, move behind enemy lines, then switch back onto the frequency to surprise attack them. So apparently all this studying and research culminated in an experiment called the Philadelphia experiment, where they applicated this technology to a naval ship at a certain harbour with crew members on it. And when they turned on the machine, the ship did disappear. When they turned off the machine, the ship never reappeared. It was apparently recovered, I believe, 200 miles away at some other harbour. And when they went onto the ship, some of the crewmen had like merged into the walls of the ship, almost as if their atoms had split apart and then merged together and shit. And the crewmen who were still alive were saying they encountered demons on the frequency that they went over to. So it wouldn't surprise me if Stephen King based a lot of his initial ideas for the concept of the mist on things like the Philadelphia experiment. It is obviously a complete conspiracy theory, but it is quite interesting because I do understand the general principle. In order for it to exist, it has to operate in a spectrum. Colour can't exist without its range of frequencies and sound and shit, you know what I'm saying? Definitely. So it makes sense that the same is true of life, and that's not to say that there couldn't be different frequencies of life all around us, just like we are BBC Radio 1 and we just can't see Radio 2 because we ain't tuned into it. So,
it was also explored in there's a film that Stuart Gordon made called From Beyond, and that's the first time I ever saw any of this shit when I was very young, watching an 80s like rubbery fucking monster movie. But they effectively do the same thing. They switch a light on, and when you switch this light on, it shows you an existing reality that we can only see when it's got this mad purple light on. And the crazy fucking monsters that come out of that and all the things that unfold. So it's something that like I'd always seen in film from a young age, but I always fascinated with it. And The Mist just took it to a next level, and it makes complete sense when you're watching the film when he says that all he has to he just very vaguely mentions they were opening portals, and these things came through, and it's very vague, but that's all it needs to explain.
I like how it's vague in the film as well. It's just like the military have been doing experiments up in the hills or whatever, and a strange mist been coming out since. It's like we think they're trying to open portals or something. People are saying, like, you know, the hearsay sort of shit.
But you know what's awesome about that Mist movie? The characters in it. Each one's so fucking cool and interesting. Each character you're proper invested in. So I think it might be like 15 minutes before you even see 15-20 minutes before you even see any kind of creature, but you're already fully immersed into what's happening, to a point that you're so immersed that when you first do see a creature, you see tentacle stuff, you're automatically like, oh fucking hell, it's took me out of the movie a bit now because I was so invested. But then you get redrawn back in. The characters are so good. They're all very, like, do you know the dude, his neighbour? And they've got the whole backstory about him filing a lawsuit against him a year before. So there's already that fucking tension.
And hold tight the unsung choice for the protagonist, the fucking painter. Many times you see a painter become the protagonist in a crisis. Yeah,
sick. And then you've...
Yeah, man, Greg Staples out here against the big tentacle monsters. Get me?
Greg Staples actually knows Thomas Jane. He collaborated with him on a comic before. So they're cool. Cool. And I love the do you know the religious woman in it, the religious nut? Like, what a fucking character! Like how she fucks everything up.
I'll tell you what though, that's a reoccurring character in Stephen King novels. He loves doing the extremist Christian character.
But there's a line in it that I love. Do you know the biker? He looks like a biker kind of dude. He says, "I've got a truck." He's got like a bandana on and stuff, and he's going to get the shotgun out of the truck. Oh man, we could podcast a whole podcast about The Mist, but he just has a line in it that I love when she's on about God, and he says, "Look, lady, I believe in God as well. I just don't think he's the fucking asshole that you make him out to be." And it's just such a good line to say that, like, you get two people that both believe in the same thing, but one's very down to earth with it, and the other one's a fucking complete nut that brainwashes people and is a complete extremist problem. So I always like that.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It's really fucking cool. The little dude, I forget his name. He plays Armanzola in the Marvel universe. He plays Hitchcock as well in The Girl. He's the dude who's when she gets Andrea from Walking Dead's in it, and she's got a gun in her bag, and they go, "We've got a gun. Does anyone know how to shoot it?" And he picks it up, and he just checks the bullets. He's like, "Yeah, I was shooting range champion 3 years in a row, 1995 or something." And so just little cool character hints all the way through it. So
I'll tell you what else. As much as some of the CGI is suspect in it, you know that one shot near the end where they're just in the car and then it fucking zooms out and there's that giant fucking huge monster.
I love it. That's when you see like fucking hell. These are a real problem. These aren't just monsters within this town. That thing looks like it eats planets. Like that's a real fucking problem.
That's some H.P. Lovecraft shit on some Cthulhu shit.
Looking. Do you know what else I heard? I think it was Hold Tight Definition. He said that there's a theory that the religious woman was correct. She says we need to kill the boy. We need to sacrifice the boy to make the monsters go away. And at the end of the film, as soon as he shoots the boy, that's when the mist disappears and the soldiers arrive. So there's a theory that she was right all along.
Well, keep in mind in the original book that doesn't happen.
Yeah. But just in that movie. I don't know what the ending is in the book. I never read the book.
Not me, but I do know it's not that.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so if that is the truth, it's only the truth of the director who decided to have the rewrite done.
Well, it's literally just a fucking... just a fan theory, but I just thought it was an interesting one. So if you've not seen...
Yeah, you gotta love a fan
definitely.
theory.
And if you've not seen The Mist, check it out. It's fucking cool. I'm sorry if we ruined it for you, but we still haven't really said what happened. Yeah, check out The Mist. And the reason we were talking about The Mist is because there's going to be a series coming out. Now, I watched the trailer to it, and it looks like it all takes place in a town. It also looks like there's going to be a hell of a lot of filler and a lot of episodes building up. I bet there's a good 3 or 4 episodes before we even see anything come out of The Mist, and even then it's very vague. And the pacing of the movie works so fucking well that I don't know how a series will work. However, I will tune in and I will give it a go because I love The Mist and I think it has got the potential to be turned into a series. Just don't be doing no filler. Don't be having filler episodes, which they will, but whatever.
Yeah, and speaking of adding filler, so about 2 years ago, I was checking this website I check out sometimes because I appreciate creative writing and I love my anthology horror. And I found this website called Creepypasta a couple years ago where amateur horror writers upload stories. And there was one story I read which I thought was proper creative and very, very good twist ending as well. Which I don't want to spoil because it's not long. It's really short. So I encourage people to just go read it, innit? But it's called Candle Cove on Creepypasta. And basically, it's written like a bunch of people talking in a random internet forum. So the internet forum's like nostalgia TV from the 90s. And someone starts with like, do you remember this show Candle Cove? And they all start talking about it, and the story unfolds from there. And I do not want to spoil the premise of it. But, so it was 3 months ago or something, Theo?
Yeah.
I randomly brought this up to you. And I thought you might rate it, so I linked you to the story. And you rated it as well,
I
yeah?
I fucking loved it, man. It's a shame that you don't want to go into the spoiler side of stuff, because I think you could delve into a little bit more.
You know what? Because it's so short, I proper want the people that listen to this podcast to read it like we read it.
Well, just know that like everyone has those discussions on Facebook and stuff where people are like, oh, do you remember this show? Oh, yeah, I remember this about it. And then another person's like, oh, yeah, I do as well. And then this happened. And then the other person's like, oh, yeah, fucking hell, I forgot about that. You just took me back. So they're all having a discussion, aren't they, on like a message board. And it turns, and they go from just talking about a TV series to other people remembering stuff, and then one person saying, I remember having a dream about it, and then another kid's like, fucking hell, that weren't a dream, because I fucking remember that as well. And it's like they're explaining all the stuff that they remember seeing in this TV show, like all pirates made out of like used puppet parts and stuff, and it's very fucking weird. And I like how you found it, because if I remember, you found it by searching the most popular story and the shortest one. Is that right?
Yeah, because I like nice short. I like anthology horror for the reason that generally they finish with a punchline. I've always been interested in the punchline, whether it's hip hop, stand up comedy, or horror. Anything with a twist at the end that surprises you and shows the cleverness of the person who wrote it, I've always enjoyed. And yeah, so I like searching for the short ones with nice little twist endings, and of course this story has an excellent twist ending. But so, it was only a couple months ago I showed you this and you rated it. And
I showed it everyone.
Like, yeah, and then like a week later, you're like, no way. And you send me this link and they made it into a TV series. Now the actual TV series is called Channel Zero. So it's called Channel Zero, but the entire first season is called Candle Cove. Now, I haven't seen it, but I do know that this story is like 2 or 3 A4 pages long at most. And I'm interested to see how they're going to stretch that out over 6 episodes, but judging by the trailer, it looks like they're sort of basing it a lot on It, you know, It the Clown.
Yeah.
It's got a similar sort of structure to It from what I've seen. So we'll see how good the TV show is, but I'm going to check it out just because I rate the story so highly. But the point of me bringing this up is if anybody out there likes really creative shit with little twist endings and shit, it's a really short story. You should check it out. It's called Candle Cove on Creepypasta.
It's fucking awesome, bro. I don't do a lot of like reading fiction. I don't do a lot of reading fiction. I like to read like autobiographies and factual shit. But that's a little story. It's done very creative. I never heard of a story written in the format of like a internet message board, which I thought was fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, man. So there you go.
We haven't got too much time this week to go into all the internet, all the social media questions that we get sent. But they've asking us stuff like that we've already covered, stuff like the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and things. I'm also getting told that there's an R-rated Ricardo.com's asked that there's going to be an R-rated and animated adaptation of The Watchmen into a feature film. What is it? And if we're looking forward to that, I fucking love The Watchmen. I've talked about it before. Like, I fucking love the character Rorschach, and I love Night Owl, and the character of Dr. Manhattan's very fucking interesting, and the comedian, and then there's a backstory of like an old roster of the Watchmen, and how that some of them went mad and then got murdered and all this kind of shit. I love how it all ties into the history of like our actual history of the world, like rewritten, and that it takes place in an alternate 1985 or 1988, whatever. But I fucking Alan Moore hated The Watchmen, didn't he? So I wonder if he's back in this, because he hated the Watchmen movie.
Yeah. Fuck knows, man. We'll see. But it should be interesting anyway. But I didn't think there was anything wrong with a Watchmen movie. They always had the notoriety of they would never be able to turn this comic series into a movie. So the fact that they even turned it into a decent movie is a achievement. But we'll see how the animated series is. Should be alright.
I don't know if it's a series or an animated film. But obviously the movie by Zack Snyder, and it didn't end with the giant octopus. They ended it a bit different and stuff, but man, I thought the fucking movie were cool. I don't know why it gets such a hard time, and I'll watch a fucking animated movie of that, definitely. Ricardo was saying, can't people just read a fucking graphic novel? In this day and age, people don't. So if that's a way to introduce people to a fucking cool story, I guarantee. Well, check this, right? How many people would have read a Walking Dead comic before the Walking Dead series come out? Not
Get
many
me.
people.
And what's interesting is there's a boom.
Read the comic now.
There's a boom in movies in the comic industry, but comics themselves still aren't like ridiculously popular. the movies they're based off are more popular than the comics.
Yeah, like Kick-Ass and shit. Kick-Ass, Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I said Kingsman was a comic. There's lots of stuff that that was a comic to a movie, but was a much more popular movie than the comic was, and then obviously that's going to shine light back onto the original source material without a doubt. So if it's done well, and I'd like to think with how to my personal opinion, the fucking Watchmen movie was sick and it was on point, and if people didn't like that and they're going to do an animated movie, I guarantee they will be sticking to it fucking shot for shot. They've got to. And Ash Blaze, hold tight, Ash Blaze, who keeps track on a lot on the Squadcast bunker. Unofficially, we didn't ask him to. He just did it because he loves our show so much. So big up to Ash Blaze every time.
Yeah, shout out Ash Blaze.
He's just asking me if I'm looking forward to HorrorCon and who we've got coming this year. So I'll just round up today's episode with just talking a little bit about HorrorCon and what we can look forward to this year. And it's coming up. I'll just let you know before I talk about HorrorCon that over the next 5 weeks, because it's like pretty much 5 weeks away now, HorrorCon, I'm going to be dropping all the videos from last year's HorrorCon on our Slimehouse YouTube. I was going to get them out as part of Series 2, but everything changed and I decided not to do an actual Series 2 and just release everything as separate videos, because you get more YouTube traction that way, and I can put out a lot more material than waiting around to like shoot a whole studio audience and stuff. Like everything that we do, there's no funding there, there's no backing, I pay for everything myself. So the reason I never did a Season 2 of Slimehouse is because, to be honest, I weren't getting paid to make that, and I was doing putting in a lot of graft for something that I was just giving TV people for free. So as cool as it is to tell people you've got your show on TV, and I've still got access to put stuff on TV whenever I like, I just wanted to be putting out cool material on the regular. So that's why now I just put up interviews as and when I do them, and I'm sat on a handful of really cool fucking interviews, and I'll be dropping them over the next 5 weeks. So HorrorCon is on the 13th of May. So up until that, each week I'm going to be dropping an interview. So I've got one with Emma Dark, I've got one with Emily Booth that presented Out There and all those fucking cool Channel 5 and Sky TV shows about horror and Italian exploitation and all that kind of thing. I've got an interview with Doug Bradley, who plays Pinhead. I've got an interview with David Norton, who was in America Elf in London and other cool stuff. And then I've got an interview with Linnea Quigley, who is just the fucking scream queen goddess of 80s fucking horror movies. So I've got lots of cool interviews to drop, all from last year, and hopefully I'll be grabbing a load more this year. So guess what I was asked this week by the lady that runs HorrorCon. I won't name drop her because she doesn't like a name on anything. She's so fucking modest. But yeah, she asked me if I could possibly go and pick Sid Haig up from Manchester Airport. So that might be happening. I might be going to pick. So me and Luke Jr. might be going to pick Sid Haig up from Manchester Airport. That'll be cool as fuck, man. I'll be buzzing for that. I really hope that pulls through. I'm like, yes, I will 100% do it. Let me know when and where. I will be there. Nothing on this earth will stop me from picking Sid Haig up from Manchester Airport. So I'm looking forward to hanging out with Sid Haig. I'm also, Elvira's coming. Do you know what I mean? Elvira is fucking coming. Yeah. I'm gonna old school. Man, do you know how many times I watched Elvira, Mistress of the Dark as a kid? Like my mom raised me watching that shit. That soup monster that comes out of the soup fucking pot, like that's cool as fuck, man. So I'm buzzing to meet her. And we've got loads of others, but one that's really gonna be fucking cool that just got announced. The last guest on the list is Heather Langenkamp. So I can't wait to meet her as well. What a fucking
sick!
I think we mentioned it on the last podcast, but when we were on about like Star Wars stories, and now we should have like a killer and a Heather Langenkamp character. But yeah, loads more guests have been announced that you can look into, and it's on the 13th of May that weekend. So yeah, man, get a ticket for that. You go to www.horrorconventions.co.uk. And get a ticket for HorrorCon, man. Come through. It's fucking awesome. It's the best horror convention in the fucking UK. Pay attention to no others. This is the one that has all the coolest stuff, all the coolest stalls. It's in fucking Magna, which is a disused fucking giant steel mill in Sheffield where they do events like and it's now a science museum. It's fucking the perfect setting to have this thing held. So yeah, man, I can't wait for that, and that's the 13th of May. So, and more info as and when I know it, and obviously I'll be reporting while I'm there. I'll be getting interviews with anyone I can there, and I'll be dropping them all for free on Slimehouse just because I love putting out cool shit. and I love people to. I love YouTube. I love watching YouTube stuff, so I just like to contribute some of that myself.
Get me.
So I think that's it for this week. We went through a lot, and there's another couple of things I wanted to talk about, but we can save them for next episode because we've been on for a long time, and as always, we need to go and get some supplies, bro, because it's going to be
scavenging time.
We've got to go and scavenge for some more supplies, bring them back down to the Lowdown Shelter. We're laying low as ever so that we can keep reporting all this cool shit back to you without anyone trying to shut us down. But yeah, man, if you like what you're hearing, you can check out our previous episodes over at www.slimehousetv.com. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/slimehousetv for anyone that wants to send us questions or discussion topics. And you can also check out all the interviews and everything else that we do over on my YouTube channel, which is www.youtube.com/Theo Cane Garvey. This has been the motherfucking Lowdown Shelter. I'm Theo Cane. That's Respek BA. Peace.
Boom.